Good morning. Garland Nixon here with Laith Maroof, and one or two minor things have happened in West Asia. Laith Maroof is going to fill us in. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, and if you'll give me a second, I actually just got a call, was getting a call from Ray McGovern, and I'll have to tell him I'll call him at 11 online now. How's that? Of all people, Ray McGovern happens to call me. Love Ray. He's such a wonderful, very nice guy.
He's definitely a great guy.
Yes, he's wonderful. Let's start here. A man who's very moral. You know what I mean? He's a good person. I love Ray. Learned a lot from him. Anyway, let's go on. First and most importantly, Laith Maroof, my weekly guest. He runs runs a website, and it's called an organization. You can go to freepalestine.video. Freepalestine.video. It's critical that you go there. What Laith and his people do is they get out important information from ground zero, from the Middle East, from West Asia, whatever you want to call it. And, they have a difficult time. Certainly you've got the U.S. empire, you've got, its vassals coming after them. So they need you to go to freepalestine.video, and to make a donation, whatever you can afford will be appreciated. And make sure you share that website on all your social media platforms. And when you share it, request people to go there, request people to donate. It's critical that we keep this kind of stuff coming out, and not with the machinations of the empire tied to all of the messages. All right, Laith, your thoughts on the Iranian strike on Israel?
Oh yeah, I mean, believe it or not, we were filming for FPTV, Free Palestine TV, in the south of Lebanon the night the Iranian retaliation came. And it got very heated. Of course, in the south of Lebanon, there was actions from the resistance there, coordinated at the same time. I think most people were thinking that this is not going to happen. I have been repeating on your show, on other shows, for a while now, since the beginning of the war and the genocide in Gaza, that we are heading to these stages. As we saw, it's got accelerated right now with the Israeli attack on the Iranian embassy in Damascus. Now we skipped the stage 2 of the militias or the non-state actors having a fight with Israel before Iran enters this battle. And I think it's clear that the Israelis did it to, force the hand of Biden, because Israel can't wait anymore for Trump to be elected. There will be no Israel by that point. So Iran, their response is historic for the whole region, historic in this 100-year for the liberation of Palestine. Is historic on a global scale. It is the largest known attack of swarms of drones. This didn't even happen in the battlefield in Ukraine. This is the first time we see a full coordinated, multi-layered attack that uses drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. We also have to recognize, this is before we even talk about the targets that Iran managed to hit. Look at what they did. They forced all the air defenses that the United States, the UK, France have installed in Jordan and in the occupied parts of Syria, as well as the air defenses of Israel, all to engage at full scale and reveal all their locations in front of a swarm of first-generation drones. Iran didn't even use their most, fancy drones. They used like the old drones that they had. And it also forced all the air forces of the United States, the UK, France, Jordan, and Israel to fly up in the air to try to intercept these drones. So, just looking at step one, the drones forced the reveal of all the locations of the radars and of the air defenses of the whole NATO in the area and its vessels. And that's for the next stage of a war coming forward. It means now these are all going to be easy targets to hit. The other thing is that we already heard that the Israelis spent $1.3 billion on the interception efforts from their ground to air defenses. So if we count on top of that the costs for the United States, France, England, and Jordan for their air defenses, and we can probably, even if we lowball it, that's another $1.3 billion. Add to it all the air forces that were up in the air, hundreds, we're talking about hundreds of F-15s, F-16s, F-35s, all chasing these cheaply made drones for hours in the air. Clearly, the defense bill for those 2 hours of Iranian attack must be over the $3 billion. And if we calculate Iran's expenses for this attack, it is roughly around 30, 40, maybe maximum $50 million. So we're talking that it is for each dollar that Iran spent on this attack, the NATO empire spent $100 and somewhat to defend on it. And so we're past now the stage of, we see like how the United States emptied all its air defenses in the area just for this. So imagine if on a full-scale war, where there's multiple waves of these drones and missiles and cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, what will happen? So the drones, overwhelmed the air defenses, and Iran announced that it had only 3 targets in the Zionist colony. 3 of them are bases, military bases. One is in the Golan, the most important listening post and intelligence gathering, electronic intelligence gathering compound that the Israelis have, that is on top of Mount Hermon in the Golan Heights. And the 2 main Air Force bases in the south of occupied Palestine in the Naqab Desert, including the base where it houses the F-35 squadron that the Israelis have. So, and all of these targets, according to the Israelis themselves, have been hit. So all the ballistic missiles that were made really for these targets reached their goal and destroyed the airfields. And the Israelis admit that there is one military cargo ship that got destroyed. This is according to them, only one military cargo ship got destroyed. So that means that there's at least 10 jet fighters that got destroyed. Maybe one of them is an F-35. Who knows? F-35s cost $100 and something million each one of them. And so Iran achieved its goals with this military attack. It's the deterrence, number one. It showed that nobody, for the first time since 1948, Israel didn't only lose its attack capabilities or upper hand in attacks. Today, we know that Israel cannot exist without the direct defense by the West on its behalf, which means prior to Iran's attack, there was 3 major powers in Western Asia: Iran, Israel, and the United States, nobody else, okay? And today, after Iran's attack, Israel has been demoted from being a regional power to being a regional vessel that cannot exist. It's on the same stature right now, Israel, as Bahrain or Qatar or Emirates. These are countries that cannot defend themselves. They cannot exist without the direct defense of the United States. And so, I mean, this is, I think many people haven't thought about it in this way, but this is the reality. Today, Israel does not exist militarily, it does not exist politically. It is just a shadow under the turncoats of the United States. We've seen all the videos, no matter what they try to deny and claim that they 99% interception. What the hell? I mean,
It sounds like what Ukraine says, like the Russians shoot 50 missiles and Ukraine says we shot down 51.
Exactly. It's so bad, the propaganda. I mean, it's not like the whole world watched the videos of those missiles hitting their targets. It's their, so their propaganda is so bad. I mean, of course, over the last 6 months, they've been telling us, no, we're not hitting hospitals, of course.
Oh,
And
right,
we
exactly.
see now, but they got used to the idea of like, let's just lie completely. Let's not even pretend. Let's not, spice up what we're saying. We're just gonna say lies 100%. And the Western media and the Western elite, presidents and prime ministers of countries repeating this bull. They are definitely defeated. I don't know where we're going to go. The next step, of course, everybody's waiting for the Israeli response. And who knows where we will be after that.
And if we really think about the numbers, I think that one of the numbers I heard from Iran was 35 million it cost them, right? Now, let's do this math. If in fact it costs, let's say, 3.5 billion for it, that's exactly 1,000 times more. Exactly 1/1000th. How many days can you fight a war against somebody when they spend the other part of it is this, something that I want you to comment on. There was let me preface it by saying this. The technological supremacy, the lie about the technological supremacy of the U.S. empire has been revealed. In Ukraine, everything they have is getting smashed to pieces by the Russians. They're firing missiles. The Russians have now, as we see, the best air defense in the world by far. And the U.S., they turn theirs on, the Russians blow it to smithereens. They put the the vaunted Patriot missile system. They turn it on. The Russians send in a couple of hypersonic missiles and turn it to dust in a few minutes, right? The Iranians come in here, and what they reveal is that this David sling and all this kind of stuff is worthless, and that worthless because if I can send in the old drones and the old missiles, hundreds of them, exhaust in one night, they could exhaust all of the missiles and pretty much neutralize Israel's air defense. And after that, they're sitting ducks. Let me throw this at you. You might have read this. There was an article that said there was a leak from someone in the Mossad, and they said there was a discussion amongst the leadership of Israel, and that if the people of Israel heard what was in that discussion, they would all be packing their bags on an airport and getting on an airplane to leave. And here now, one person said, "Oh, because they were afraid the Israelis were going to be using nukes." I said, "I don't think that's what it was. I think the discussion was Iran has crippled our air defense. They bashed all of this stuff to pieces. We're out of missiles." I think that the Israelis were basically saying, we're naked right now. One minor attack from Iran, when they had to get a report from the military had to come into the leaders and say, okay, what's the status of our air defense right now? And the military had to say, well, a lot of it's blown up. Most of it's out of missiles. We don't have an air defense. And I think what the Mossad was saying is, if the people in Israel really knew that their air defense was neutralized and that Iran could turn them to dust any day they wanted, they'd all get the hell out and leave. Between Hamas on the ground knocking the hell out of them, now their air defense from the air, I'm going to call the Iranian unmanned air force, smashed them. If The people of Israel knew that Israel is militarily naked right now. They'd run and get the hell out of there. Israel's lost. This thing's over.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Just by the way, an hour ago, Hezbollah destroyed a battery of Iron Dome in the north of Palestine. And
Probably
during
the
the
last
night,
one. Probably the
yeah,
last one.
there's so many of them have been hit over the last 6 months by Hezbollah. But you know, something that's very important for our watchers to know, our viewers, is that the Americans moved THAAD air defenses into Jordan the day before Iran's attack.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the THAAD system, the Patriot system, and the David Sling and the Iron Dome batteries all activated and failing. I mean, supposedly the THAAD is there to going to protect South Korea and Japan from the North Korean hypersonic missiles and nuclear heads. It failed in the face of drones, Scud missiles. You know, the ballistic missiles that Iran sent, they were not even the solid fuel missiles that they have. They sent old modified Scud missiles. And they got through all of this. So we right now saw the total failure of Western air defense systems in the face of first and second generation drones and ballistic missiles. So let's put ourselves in this room where they said 4 million Israelis will run away if they hear what we're saying. And look at what in the situation of Israel attacking Iran now and Iran opening a full-out war. There will be tens of thousands of drones, of the new generation of drones, tens of thousands of missiles coming not only from Iran, but from Lebanon, from Syria, from Iraq, from Yemen. There'll be nothing left of Israel and nothing left of American bases in the region if the United States decides to intervene to defend this Zionist colony in the next, confrontation. So we are, it's already been set in the stone. It's been carved in the stone. Israel is over. There will be no more Zionist colony. We saw the total defeat of the military ground forces of Israel on October 7th, and since in the face of a small militia like Hamas with 25,000 fighters taking on 500,000 Israeli ground forces and defeating them. And now we saw with the little, aerial attack on the Zionists by Iran, that they're already defeated. If their air defenses are out, it means their only advantage, which is their air force, will be obliterated. The fact that the Iranians hit these two major airfields in the south of Palestine means that in a full confrontation, those all the airfields of Israel will be out of commission, which
Every
means that
military base. Every
yes,
military base, if Iran, they would, anything in Israel right now only exists by the grace of Iran. Everything, all their military bases, everything at this moment only exists by the grace of Iran. If Iran wants any of it gone, if Iran says to Israel, that base right there, we're going to destroy it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Israel can put everything they want. The U.S., all of NATO can take off in the air, and none of them can stop Iran from taking out any target that they choose. That is total domination.
oh yes, and in those situations, where would the Israeli Air Force go? It's going to land in Cyprus or Jordan. Jordan is going to be, trampled on. It's going to be stuck between the two warring parties. And Cyprus, I mean, they can hit Cyprus. Hezbollah can
They
hit
choose, yeah.
Cyprus. It's there will be no place safe And this is why, definitely, I encourage those 4 million Israelis to leave right now and save us this. If the United States and the elite in the Zionist colony are not lunatics, are not fanatical zealots that want to bring Armageddon, they would have already come down from the tree and ended the apartheid, like in South Africa. You know, the elite in South Africa also had nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But they understood where we're going. But because of the fascist, supremacist convictions of people like Netanyahu and those who are around him, they want Armageddon. And I'm going to mention something that maybe some of our viewers heard. At the night of Iran's retaliation, Operation Truthful Promise, Netanyahu went and hid in a bunker in Jerusalem in the house of one of the biggest billionaires in the Zionist colony, who funds the building of the new temple and the destruction of the Aqsa Mosque, who funded the bringing of those 5 red cows, red heifers. So if Netanyahu is protected, he sees his safety under the wing of this billionaire fascist. What do you think his decisions are? How his decisions are being made? Do you think he's just caring for his political career? No, he is a fanatic that would drag us in this situation, as we see right now, and drag the United States, whether it likes it or not, into a probable nuclear war that we don't know where things are going to go.
You know, I do believe this because I'm here. And I can tell you that one thing about the leaders of the U.S. empire, they're scared of this place, right? They are very, very reactive to public sentiment, to what's going on here in certain ways when it comes to the election. The Biden team are scared to death about losing the election. Number one, their hands are dirty and they're afraid that a vindictive Trump will come in, start looking at, they're going to have problems. They know that Trump is going to, try to really do some damage and get his revenge. They're horrified of that, right? I was shocked. To be quite frank, to see the Biden administration basically say, "Ooh, no, don't retaliate." And here's what I think was brilliant. And one of the brilliant moves, the Iranians are really, really brilliant strategists. In the morning, before the attack, they seized a ship in the Straits of Hormuz. That was part of the chess move. It was a reminder. We're going to do 2 things. We're going to remind you, United States, that we own the Straits of Hormuz and the Red Sea. And if you get ugly, or if this thing gets ugly, your economy is over. We will destroy your economy. We can destroy your economy anytime we want, and we will. So they kind of gave them that elbow to remember that, you know what I mean, to let them know anytime, almost kind of like if I remember watching this gangster movie and these guys were arguing or discussing, and one of the guys just kind of pulled his jacket aside to show, I've got a gun, right? Just a reminder, hey, we don't have to be trouble, but I got a gun. Okay. That was what they did. A reminder. This is not just military. We'll end your economy, and you don't want that to happen, right?
Oh yeah. And
Go ahead.
this thing with the Strait of Hormuz, I mean, it was also the end of the backdoor supply line for Israel. Remember, the Israelis built this supply line that goes from Emirates to Saudi to Jordan to Israel to make up for the blocking of the Bab el-Mandeb and Yemen. So what Iran did this now is just cut that supply line with this one action. There's no more safety. And they said there will be no more Israeli associated ships allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz or the Gulf of Oman. So it's done. Now the only path for supplying Israel is the Mediterranean. Over. And the United States has no way. It's not going to go bomb Yemen to get the ships in. Iran, like it bombs Yemen to get the ships in. That's not going to happen. So it's a brilliant thing. And it's, as you said, an indicator. In the future war, there will be no oil, no gas coming to the west from this whole area. And already we can predict that if that happens, if a full-out war happens and Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, the barrel of oil will rise to at least $900.
It's over. It
So
can't be bought. Nobody can buy that. At that point, I'm in the United States. Who could pay $100 a gallon, $50? At that point, it might as well be $1 million a gallon. At
yeah.
that point, um, you can't buy it. Your economy just shuts down. So I think it was a brilliant strategic move. Here's what's interesting. Put these two together. You've been looking at Ukraine. That's lost. That's done. Ukraine's folding. And add this, they're eating up so much ammunition, so many missiles, so much stuff in Israel that now Zelensky's saying, hey, what about us? He's not getting anything. I did a video about it. Both of these wars are lost, completely lost.
Oh yeah, it's
The
completely
empire's
lost,
in
and he's
trouble.
crying. He's like, "Why haven't you been sending your air forces to defend me against these drones?"
Yes.
And he's like, "I'm a Jew too," It's
Yes.
like this. But he's not running the Jewish state,
Right.
therefore, and But it's crazy. Obviously, we look at this battle, and of course, all the players right now are looking at it. China, Russia, North Korea, Belarus, Venezuela, Algeria. Everybody is looking at this, and they're realizing that, you know what? In the situation of a war that the United States and the whole West has to bring all its power to defend this Zionist colony because they
And they'll
cannot
still
survive.
lose.
That
They'll
means
still
all the
lose.
other fronts will be free. It's like the United States is going to have to leave the whole globe and bring all its power to face the axis of resistance here. And of course, immediately, Taiwan will fall. Immediately, Korea will be liberated and unified. Immediately, Ukraine will be denazified in seconds. There's nothing to stop anybody else on this planet once this war starts. And so it's clear that all the new powers rising in the world, the multipolar forces, the BRICS, they are all behind Iran. Even from a selfish point of view, they'd want Iran to engage the United States in this way. It lifts some pressure on them, and it also prepares them all for the next wars. Some analysts were saying that maybe the Russians and the Chinese allowed their own equivalents of GPS military grade to be used by the Iranians in the targeting. That's some analysts are saying that. But I also saw some military analysts talk about how Iran has ground-based GPS, these towers that they have on their own border that can project all the way to Israel. And also, of course, Iran had installed its own satellites over the last 5 years. Some of them clearly have these kind of GPS targeting capabilities and intelligence on the ground that they can see minute to minute. So ultimately, the Chinese and the Russians and everybody else is very happy at what Iran is doing.
Yeah, here's the thing. The U.S. lost to the Houthis. They lost in the Red Sea. The Houthis kicked their butt. I think that and two things have happened in Ukraine, and I keep tying them together because I say it's the same thing. You know what it's like? It's like this master has these two dogs and they're growling. One's Ukraine and they're both getting chewed up. The Russians have exposed the weaknesses of the empire in that. Number one, they exposed this. They don't have the industry to fight a war because they can't make the shells, they can't make the things they need. Their equipment is expensive, but it's touchy. It's too expensive, and it's not made for warfare out in difficult situations. So they've been exposed. The Iranians have exposed that swarms of drones with missiles, basically a new strategy that the empire has no defense for. No one could defend against that. It would be impossible to defend against the strategy that they've used. So between the Houthis and Ukraine and now Iran, the empire now is militarily, not only is it weak, it's completely militarily impotent. The only thing that they can do It's swallow up. It's commit suicide with nuclear. Commit suicide. That the only thing the U.S. empire can do is commit suicide. Clearly, it is laughable now to think that the U.S. would go to war with China after what we've seen.
Oh, yeah, and it proved to us also right now that the Ansarullah in Yemen have been purposefully holding back and not sinking American aircraft carriers
Yeah.
because they have the same weapons that Iran has. And so it's clear that actually the axis of resistance have been very rational, have been trying to send the messages very lightly, slapping the United States just like this instead of punching them fully in the face. To be like, come on, buddy, I just slapped you in front of everybody. How about you just pack up and go? And because they are rational actors.
Yes.
They don't want to dominate the world. They just want to free their land. Get the hell out of here, gringo. Yankee, go home, and that's it. But as we see in the situation of a full-out war, I am sure Ansarullah will sink American aircraft carriers. In the case of a full-out war, and the United States is engaged in defending the Zionist colony, the naval base in Bahrain will be hit worse than Pearl Harbor. Okay, this is how I think serious the situation is, and our American viewers that don't want to see American soldiers being brought back in coffins in the tens of thousands, Vietnam style, should move up right now and put pressure on their government to pull back from this brink of abyss. It's clear now to anybody that has any mental faculties that the United States and Israel have suffered a huge strategic defeat, and that the longer this battle goes, the further this strategic defeat will be, and the further deteriorated the American power will be, and there's no going back. And so, if you want to stay at least with what you have right now, you better pull out now. Otherwise, the United States will be, by the end of this war, a third world country.
I think you're right. I think that's the direction that things are going right now. I would argue this, that the U.S. empire, I'm just going to add Israel as part of that, and its vassals have gotten something far worse than a strategic defeat. If I go around saying I'm the baddest man on the block, okay, and people believe it, and then I go get in a fight and some guy kicks my ass, and people look at me and they say, Garland doesn't even know how to fight. What's worse than, it's okay if I fight some tough guy and we go toe to toe and I get my ass kicked in the end and people say, well, Garland's still a tough fighter, but hey, that guy was a little better, right? But what happens if people are like, well, Garland doesn't even know how to fight. He can't even protect himself. He just fell on the ground and curled up and started sucking his thumb, begging a guy not to beat the hell out of him, right? I have been exposed.
And you got up with your thumb in your mouth and say, I'm the toughest man still.
Yeah.
This is what Israel is doing. It's like...
So what's worse than a defeat? It's been exposed that they can't even defend themselves. It's been exposed that it's all talk. And now people are not even going to respect them. Everybody's going to look at them and say, hey, don't piss me off. Don't make me call Iran over here again. If you keep getting on my nerves, I'll call Iran. Don't make me call them over here to kick your ass. I mean, that's the worst part of it. It's over. Once you've been exposed that you can't even fight, you can't even bluff. They can't even bluff anymore.
Yeah. And look at their little vessels in the region, how quiet.
Oh, they're going to run.
They're. I mean, the only one that I think is probably stupider than the Israelis is the Jordan government.
Can you believe Jordan fought to protect Israel? It's the government. Talk to me. What's going to happen? How's that going to work out in Jordan? I can't believe that.
I was born in Jordan. My mother's family lives in Jordan. I visited all the time. I studied there. I did my high school, last year, and then a university year there. And to see this change over the last 30 years. Remember the father of the current king, King Hussein, in 1991 refused to join the American war on Iraq. And although he is a vassal of the United States, but he refused to do it, fearing an uprising from his people, because the tribes in Jordan are intermarried to the tribes in Iraq and are part of that. And the vast majority of the Palestinians the citizens that are not part of these tribes are actually originally Palestinian. And so he stood against the invasion of Iraq. The country suffered hugely. 2 million Jordanians and Palestinians were expelled from the Gulf and ended up in Jordan, and the whole economy collapsed and so forth. But he still stood against that, even because of thinking about his own safety. His son now, in this situation where Israel has been flying its jets over Jordan and its missiles over Jordan to hit Syria and Iraq on and on and on and on for years now, didn't dare lift a finger or fire one missile to stop the Israelis from violating his sovereignty when they're on their way to attack Iraq and Syria, suddenly, supposedly found his manhood and wanted to defend his sovereignty against the Iranian drones going on the way to liberate Palestine. And the street is exploding right now in Jordan. I have not heard, I've been calling people I know in Jordan since that day, since a few days ago, and I've heard things that I've never heard before. Most Jordanians love the monarchy. It's a stupid thing, but it's just like the British. The majority of them love the monarchy. It's not logical, but they do. And suddenly, I heard people cursing the king, and cursing the monarchy, and cursing the government. For years now, every time we talk about change in Jordan with Jordanians, even the radical or progressive ones or whatever you want, they all be like, whoa, look at what happened in Iraq and Syria. Please leave Jordan safe. We're not going to try to overthrow the government if it's going to end up with this slaughter as in Syria and Iraq. Now that's gone. People are ready to rise up. And imagine if the Israeli attack on Iran that's coming, as the Israelis announced, actually flies over Jordan, because that's the only way. They have to go through Jordan to reach Iran. And the Jordanians do nothing. That's gonna, number one, Iran said they will attack any country that facilitates an Israeli attack on it. So this time Jordan will be hit. And if Jordan is hit, and there's on its border thousands of Iraqi fighters waiting that want to, the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Units announced that they're ready to arm 12,000 Jordanians to rebel and to open a front on Palestine. Jordan will cease to exist as fast as Israel will be ceased to exist in the situation of the breakout of hostilities, which is coming. As we know it's coming. So the future of this fake state of Jordan is the same future of the Zionist fake state, and it's all because of the stupidity of their king and their comprador collaborationist class that is governing their country.
One of the things that somebody put in the chat was, well, the U.S. can still go around and do its, color revolutions and sow chaos and all. I think there's something different here. And here's the difference. It's not going to be as easy. We talked about the comprador class, the vassals, the one. Okay, but now that they've seen that the U.S. can't protect them. Now that they've looked, they thought the U.S. was so powerful that they were siding with the power. People are like, hey, man, he's the biggest, strongest stuff. It's like people say they go to jail, they make friends with the toughest guy. In fact, let me say this. One of the I was a police officer for years. One of the things that's known about prison is a lot of guys go to prison and a lot of guys would convert to Islam. Because nobody'd mess with the Muslims. They'd stick together, and if you be, one of them, if you do something or hurt one of them, you're done. right? So a lot of people in prison would convert to Islam because they'd be like, I'm going to hang with the Muslims. I'm going to hang with the toughest guy around. I want to be part of this because that's nobody will mess with me then. Okay. They ain't the toughest guy around anymore. They're like the weakest guy around. They've been exposed. I think it's going to be difficult for them to get people to join them to do these color revolutions. They're going to be like, let's do a color revolution. And the people are going to be like, yeah, no, buddy, you can't protect us. What happens in some of these Gulf states? I'm not going to name any names. Let's just say some of these regional leaders who wake up and realize that the US can't protect them. I think they may run. I think they may start looking for Russia or China or whoever the hell they can.
Oh
Maybe
yes, oh
even
yes.
Iran.
Oh yes. I mean, before the Islamic Revolution in 1979 in Iran, all these Gulf states, would visit on a yearly annual pilgrimage almost to Iran to kiss the hand of the Shah. They will literally kiss his hand because he was America's tough man, and it's a country that's 90 million people. And so right now, the minute that there is no American presence in our region here, the natural order will go back. Either the Arabic people are unified and then they have become a center weight, and then they can have a balanced relationship with Iran and Turkey, and or these Gulf states will have to kiss the hand. And so I think the most probable situation is these countries are going to collapse. And already I've been, talking over the last 2 days with people in the streets here and people in Syria, and you could see already the population talking about the day after. And most of the people in the region do not want to fall under the influence of some other external power, even with the love to Iran, even with the friendship with Russia, even with the historical trade with China. They would like to return to being fully sovereign. And the only way that this region the Arabic people can be fully sovereign again, is for them to unify again. So we can see right now this strain about unification, whether it's Syrian nationalism and trying to bring all the greater Syria region together, or Arab unificationist talk, or even Islamic unificationist, is floating to the surface. And it's now, people are thinking already of the day after the collapse of Israel and the exit of the United States, as if we're still alive. What will happen? What will happen? And that's a serious thing. A future multipolar world will need us all to have conglomerated civilizational groupings that balance each other and don't overwhelm each other, so we're not back to the same problem that the West has shown us for the last 600 years.
I would argue that the strike on Israel was an exclamation mark on the multipolar world, that we're not on the edge of a multipolar world, that we're already there. Once the hegemon is exposed, that it can't, it has two options. It can use economic power, it can use military power. Diplomatic power has long been gone, right? Well, they went after Russia with economic power, nothing. They lost that one. In fact, it boomeranged on them. They're, threatening Iran with military power, boomeranged on them, same thing. So to me, I think we're already there. Look in Africa. The African states in the Sahel region are starting to join together to create like one block of countries. I think what we're looking at, the US empire, particularly under the last few years, has become so irrational, so brutal, has descended into savagery, to the point where the resistance is no longer an axis of resistance in West Asia. That Russia and China and all over the world, including the Africans, that the axis of resistance had to form worldwide because of this savage hegemon. And that also, when people saw what the U.S. empire was willing to do and support in Gaza, that at that point it became obvious to the world, we've got to unite to stop these people, because basically the Third Reich has returned in full blossom. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just earlier this morning, Burkina Faso expelled the French troops from its territory. So now this is the third country in that region, Mali, Niger, and now Burkina Faso expelling French presence. And there's been daily demonstrations in Niger in front of the American bases, because the United States is refusing to withdraw its troops from Niger. And they've been demonstrating in front of them every day. I saw the placards, and it's getting serious. There could be a mob that attacks the American base if the United States doesn't withdraw peacefully. And this is the future. The future is conglomerations on regional, cultural, civilizational lines, bigger groupings that can balance each other. And those who don't move in that direction will be left behind, will become the weaker people. So, I am sure anybody that's, let's say, in Senegal right now is thinking about this. Oh, are we going to stay out of this Sahara coalition, or the Arabic conglomeration that's going to come? Who are we going to conglomerate with? Where do we have cultural and civilizational relations and relatives, and how can we conglomerate into bigger groupings? And so that's if we're all alive. Okay, I know we're joking about it.
Well, but it's not a joke at all.
Yeah.
There are serious, we've got to get through this is the critical time right now. When this beast is injured, when it's down, when it's being beaten, is when it's most dangerous to get through. I also add this. I believe that the U.S. empire will be ejected for the most part out of Asia. West Asia is going to be thrown out, and then Africa's next, and then Latin America's next. That once the Africans look up, as you're saying, and they say, well, man, they kicked them the hell out of their region. You know what? Time for them to leave ours too. That they'll kick them out. And that once the people and the masses decide they can't stay, they can't stay.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So one thing that we can try to talk about is what are the options in front of Israel militarily. I mean, it's that's
White flag. I'm thinking is about the only thing.
yeah. But truthfully, if we analyze it militarily, they're saying they are going to attack. Okay, so what do they have to be able to attack Iran with? They have around 200 ballistic missiles, Israeli made, but those are supposed to be reserved for nuclear heads. Okay, it's not, they don't even have the heads for them. They're going to have to put explosive heads if they don't want to. And if they shoot them with just regular explosive heads, and it gets to the point where they need to deliver a nuclear weapon against one of their enemies, what are they going to do? So, option of ballistic missiles, not likely that Israel is going to use it. Drones, like Iran, Israel doesn't have even a fraction of drones that Iran has. Iran right now has the largest drone army swarm on the planet. It's not known the number, but it's very likely that it's in the tens of thousands. Okay. All right, so what's the option that they have other than that? Their option is F-35s. And maybe they can fly as close as possible to the Iranian border and then fire a few missiles, cruise missiles, whatever, from those jets and run back if they're not exposed, and or the air defenses of Iran doesn't spot them once they fire and even hit them over Iraq. And if they want to hit targets that are deep inside Iran, they may maybe escape the air defenses or the radars of Iran as they're coming in. But once they're halfway through Iran and they fire and try to come back, they're not coming back.
No. It's a suicide mission. It will be a suicide mission.
And similarly, they need, of course, air fueling, for this trip. And to do that, the only possible way is for the United States to provide the AWACS, the air fueling jets. Israel doesn't have air fueling jets. And so
And the U.S.
the
already
United
said they
States,
won't do that. The U.S. already said they will not participate in any offensive. They said if they fire at you, we'll help defend, but no offense because they don't want their bases attacked. Biden
you
can't
know,
face that at home. He
yes,
can't
I
drag
mean,
us into another war at home.
but I will take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so in fact, during the Iranian operation, the all the air defense coordination was taken over by the American military.
Oh, certainly.
Control of and this is admitted by the Israelis. American generals controlled the David Sling and all the Israeli air defenses. It was handed over to the Americans to control. So right now in this situation, it's very So the options that Israel has are very limited. They're suicidal, and if they don't respond, it's a total defeat, strategic defeat, and they open up themselves to swarms from Lebanon and what have you. And if they respond, they can't do something as significant as the Iranians did, and or they can concentrate all their attack on some exposed old nuclear facilities that Iran had that were built before the Iranian Revolution, the ones that are on top of the ground. And if Israel hits a nuclear reactor, that means nuclear fallout over Iran. That will be the equivalent of using a nuclear head. And certainly, Iran will retaliate by hitting the three nuclear reactors that Israel has. One of them is just beside Tel Aviv. So, there will be mass deaths of Zionists. These are the options in front of the Zionists, and none of them are good options. So we all are waiting to see what the Israelis choose, which way do they want to commit suicide.
Well, here's the other thing too, and I do know the Iranians have S-300s, which is a very, very good system from Russia. They've got a lot of the smaller stuff, the Buks, so loaded with them. So the Iranians have a significant integrated air defense now, right? It's obvious right now that you come snooping into Iranian territory, based on what we've seen technologically, offensively, it only makes sense that their air defense is integrated and it's a very, very highly technical. Here's what would be the worst case scenario. See, for the Israelis say, okay, we're going to punish the Iranians. And so they send some planes in to fire missiles. And the Iranians shoot the missiles down and shoot the planes in and say, good try, guys, try it again. That they're exposed that offensively, if they try to hit which is the S-300s are good stuff. Really, we've seen really, really quality stuff, and they've got newer editions of them, and who knows what else all they have. They've got good quality stuff. What happens if the Israelis come in to hit them, and now the Israelis are able to stop unable to stop an offensive attack from Iran, and Iran just brushes this aside like it's nothing. Well, they fired some missiles. We shot them all down. We shot their planes out. Go on about your business. You're aggravating us. Nothing more. It's like a horse swatting away flies. That is a big danger for Israel. What a disaster it would be to attack Iran and have Iran able to successfully defend against the Israeli attack.
Yes, and one of the viewers here wrote a comment about the nuclear reactors of Iran. There's only one or two that are exposed, and these are the old ones built before the Islamic Revolution. The military, let's say, grade nuclear reactors that Iran built have built them in under mountains. One of them even there was a report that came out from American intelligence about attempts at what could you do to attack Iranian nuclear reactors, they would have to fire 10 nuclear heads, one after the other, on top of this mountain to reach all the way down. Okay? Israel cannot fire 100 nuclear heads on one location in succession to be able to reach a nuclear reactor under there. And similarly, the ones that are in the desert, again, desert sand will just absorb the explosion and nothing will. So it's practically impossible to hit these fortified ones. There's just the one or two that are exposed, that are old, as I said. And in any case, I bet you, I personally believe this, that in the situation that Israel attacks nuclear sites and or uses nukes, the Iranian government will reassess its position, which currently says it's haram, it's forbidden to use nuclear weapons or build them, and they can build them within minutes. They have all the capabilities and so forth. And so this once the nuclear weapons are used, also, where would Belarus be standing? Remember, at the beginning of this war and after the assassination of also Soleimani, Belarus said they're ready to defend Iran with its own nuclear weapons. What will North Korea do? Without us talking about China and Russia, there's other smaller parties. What would Pakistan do? Okay, so we're right now we're all waiting to see what the lunatics in Israel will do. The ball is in their field. Actually, the whole planet now is in their hand. The decision that the Israelis make in the next day or two will determine the fate of the whole planet.
Yeah, I think what are the thing is their options. What are their options? So let me ask you this. I think something else that was critical and that isn't discussed. Not only did Iran hit them, the Houthis fired on them. The Hezbollah fired on them. I think that was also a demonstration. Iran fired on them. That was a demonstration that we can. What are you going to do? You're surrounded and all. You are challenging the Muslim people. You are challenging a civilization. And what are you going to do? You're going to hit Iran. So many missiles are coming from this direction. We don't have to. Iran doesn't have to fire a missile. Hezbollah could flatten everything they have. You know what I mean? That's the other part of it.
Oh yeah. And look, the whole West is hedging their supremacy, their hegemony on Israel, and I think the humiliation for the French and the British right now is as much as it is for the Israelis, because they now all came out openly as full vassals. Okay, for the French and the British to pull all their forces and fly their planes and all under one command from the United States. Okay, so right now, whoever thought that there is some independence in the UK and France, now everybody knows there isn't, so it's now the war in Gaza revealed a lot to humanity. These power lines and so forth. But today, this action by Iran, anything that was still hidden from the eyes, or still some people didn't comprehend it. I think all of humanity now comprehends that there's one empire, and it's ruled from DC, and that the trademark of this empire is supremacy. Nazism, Zionism, Wahhabism, and so this is now all of humanity. Anybody that got fooled over 60 years of propaganda from the West of freedom, democracy, blah, 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 is gone. There's no returning. There's no returning to that. And I wonder, honestly, what will happen in the streets of the UK, France, the United States, Canada, once this war rolls out. Are the people ready for it in your countries? We're ready here. We've been living this for 100 years. We've acclimated. We're ready for Armageddon since the first crusader landed on our land. Are you ready for that? And can you stop it? Do these civilian citizens in these countries, do they have any effect on their own future? These are big questions.
Laith Maroof. Everyone, don't forget, it's freepalestine.video. That's the website you need to go to. You can see that Laith's doing a lot of very, very good work. He's in a dangerous, really, I mean, it's dangerous. The U.S. empire could decide, oh, we don't like him being on. They could go after him. They could shut down their website. They could do all kinds of terrible things like they do here to us and all around the empire. You see what happens in Germany recently. They were going to have some kind of a pro-Palestinian discussion, a pro-peace. The German police came and shut it down, said people can't come in. I mean, these people are, they're going full Nazi here. What options do they have at this point? They've been exposed and crushed. All right, freepalestine.video is the website. Go there and make sure that you donate to keep this important work going. Thanks a lot, everybody. If you can't afford to donate, then just share freepalestine.video on all your social media platforms. And when you share it, ask people to go there and donate. So let's try to get this thing building. Of course, you see everything here. Make sure you share this on all your social media platforms. Thanks a lot. Laith Maroof, thank you very much.